Welcome to the MBD podcast, the show where we dig into actually what's working or not working when it comes to scaling businesses. And today's guest, our special guest, who I'm going to allow to introduce himself, is take it away.
Hey there, Wayne Lifshitz here. I am a founder of a consumer product company and a couple of tech companies, and I guess I know the trials and tribulations of trying to get it off the ground and then get it to the next step and the next step and the next step.
And with that, what are some of the things that you've seen where companies struggle trying to essentially grow and scale the business and generate revenue or clients, customers for what you're trying to target?
So I work a lot with startup founders, and everybody's read the same instruction manual, it seems, about when it comes to their total addressable market. And they're like, I got billions and billions in total addressable market. Why would you not invest in this idea? And ironically, I made the same mistake when I did my first consumer product company, thinking that, oh, if someone in California and someone in New York wants to buy it, great, I'll sell it to everybody who wants to buy it. But it made it more challenging to try and understand the dynamics between different markets. And ironically, when we started, Texas became a huge market for us. Not on my radar. I would never have known. It's just something that organically um, grew, and we were able to identify through data analysis. And that then led us to kind of re-strategize. And what I tell founders now is, it's great, you got an idea. Pick a market and kind of dominate that market and learn from it before we start going to every single market everywhere. We did that and it was difficult. Like we went to Europe, we went overseas, we made instruction manuals in 6 different languages. We went,
It's a lot to juggle.
I don't know if it was overboard. We did have customers eventually from all those locations, but we probably would have scaled faster sticking to the US and sticking geographically and growing graphically. I mean, we ended up growing, but I think it was like if you imagine a staircase, instead of just
Yeah.
going up each step, we kind of jumped up 4 steps and went back one, and then took one, two, three, and then jumped up five, and then took two backwards. And I also think when it comes to scaling, scaling is a repetitive exercise. Scaling doesn't happen once.
Hmm.
You scale, and then it takes you to a new plateau. And they work there for a little bit. And you think, okay, how do I get to the next plateau? Whether that plateau is money, as in revenue, or number of units sold, or number of followers, or customer, whatever that metric is. Once you hit that one, then you want to set a new one. And it's a different strategy to scale, I think, up each step because that first step is the hardest. No one knows who you are.
Hmm.
So why are they buying your product and how are you convincing them to do that? By the time you've hit 100,000 or maybe even 10,000, word is out a little bit, and that word creates credibility. So the scaling becomes a different kind of challenge, I think, at each step of the growth.
It's interesting to say that because this is something that comes up in which we've even seen where it's like, well, let's dominate a specific market that you're having success in, because then that provides the social proof and examples you need to build case studies, so that way you can go into different markets or pitch to investors. So,
Exactly.
um, right, because if you're going, oh, I want to dominate the United States, like, okay, great, but then you got limited budget. And you're like, well, let's go to the area that we know that your target market is that it could be larger. Try and get in there so that way at least you get some presence, and then that way when you essentially it's a wash and repeat type model, right? Like go into this market, dominate it, get to the point where it's saturated, then boom, take that same playbook, go to New York, maybe go to
Yeah.
Austin, or right, hit up
And you
LA.
find those KPIs. So what does saturated mean? Is that everybody? Is
Right.
that some percentage? But it gives you the credibility. And then, with social media and the state of technology, you would think, okay, someone from California knows someone in Texas, someone in Colorado,
Yep.
someone in New York, and it can kind of make its way, your idea can make its way around different markets.
Yeah, I'll start moving.
And different markets want different things.
Hmm.
So, Coke may be in a red can, and they're like, we don't care. Everybody gets it in a red can. But
Those were Coke.
I worked with a marketing agency a few years ago, and it was the same message was delivered very differently, whether it was in the South, whether it was in California,
Hmm.
when it was in like the Northeast, and depending on the age group. And so I think understanding that it's not a one size fits all. It's a test, test, test over and
Hmm.
over again. And when you find something that works, go with it, but realize that that's going to come to an end also. And it's
Yeah.
not going to work anymore. And then you go back to the test, test, test and continue.
Well, as you say, by market, because one of the things I think people don't realize is that, and I found this through legal marketing, is that where we were testing out in LA did not work in San Diego. San Diego is like its own state. And then you go a little bit north over to Ventura, and Ventura doesn't like that same messaging. Where San Diego wants someone in San Diego, but in LA, they don't care where you're from. San
Mm-hmm.
Diego wants a San Diegoan. Um, and it had to be different. So yeah, and all the testing you have to do in variables and controlling it by market. Now, as let's say, for instance, we're starting from square one, we have essentially the product that we're going to go to market with. Now you have identified a market. How are you going to go in and start generating leads in that market? What would be some of your go-to market strategies?
So the first one we did, I mean, the first consumer product, Piggyback Rider, was a physical product. And we identified two main markets that we thought it would sell best in. Actually, three, but we only had resources to go after two, and that kept us busy enough. So Piggyback Rider fit within the outdoor industry, and then what was the baby and child product industry. And because we were new, we invented it. It was a new product to both those industries. We took the time and the money to create to go to their trade shows
Mhm.
and to kind of be obnoxious about it, to let people really know we're here. We had cool signage. We hosted events, anything to kind of bring people to our booth and to our new product. Once we had the hook in, then I think it was just traditional, you know,
Mhm.
calling people back. Hey, Jason, da, da, we met you at the show, da 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 da, and getting orders in. Um, Now I think it's easier, managing your supply chain. Back then it was literally like, oh, I sold Jason X number of units. I think he should be close to out. Let me call him again. Um, we didn't have
A
the data and
marketplace or
the
back end
access.
CMS. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have that back then. Now I'm sure you do, where that can be much more automated. And I know the
Mhm.
supply chain work I've done is much more automated from that perspective. Um, so while it's an expense going to a trade show, you hit buyers immediately. I mean, I remember being there and you'd be like, oh my God, that's the REI buyer. Oh, that's the
Mhm.
the bye bye baby buyer. And it's like now people, looking for jobs, I got to find the right recruiter. Well, it's basically the same thing. Who's the person that's going to
Mhm.
say yes to a contract uh, and buy it? And word would get out. It'd be like, oh my God, target buyer's in the building. And
Yeah.
like, who's the target buyer? We got to get him to the booth. Um, Now I think that gets you to retail and it gets you to some of the big e-commerce platforms. Like even Amazon will be there recruiting products
Mhm.
into their various divisions. Um, but now I think, we've even converted out. We haven't been to a trade show in probably a decade because we work
Yeah.
with influencers. So now we
Okay.
find people who have their own followings
Mhm.
who are going more B2C, whereas we initially started at B2B, and then our B2C was going to Amazon.
Mhm.
Um, but now those influencers go straight B2C. Um, and if they've got several 100,000 followers, that's way more eyeballs than you'll get on by going to a trade show.
Well, yeah. So you became established in retail essentially. Now, one of the things, because I struggle with this with influencers, even though they have a large audience or a large presence, a lot of times we find that it's not, the campaigns aren't successful because one, maybe that's not your target demographic, even though they may say it is, because they're doing it, people realize it, they're not clicking through and then going through to purchase. So what are you doing to leverage these influencers to get them to work, to get those campaigns to work?
Uh, the get them to work is the magic
Yeah.
words there because how do you even measure that? And we
Hmm.
haven't found a way to measure it. So if you're my influencer and I give you a couple free products so you can have one and use it and you can do some giveaways and whatnot, um, I don't know if the 10th person that buys it because they saw the video that you made. And if they did buy it, I don't know if they bought it on Amazon, on my
Hmm.
website, on the influencer's website, on Pinterest, where, some Target, Walmart, some other website, or they bought it in a store.
Hmm.
So it's more like a hope. Whereas I think old marketing, whether it was on TV or SEO or banner ads, um, like I know I sent it to you. I know the demographic exactly who I'm sending it to. But you're right, the influencer piece is kind of hit or miss because I don't know, I could be an influencer and it could be a massive age range of people that follow me, but they may not be the ones buying the product. And then I think you have that maybe a piece of disingenuousness that they're like, oh, it's like it's a late night marketing. Oh,
They're
I got this
working.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done with that one. Okay, now I got this thing. Now I got this thing that I get a piece of the action on all of them. So do they actually influence? I don't know. I think we've had a lot of luck when random things happen.
Hmm.
So, yeah, we paid popular influencers to do that marketing for us. No idea if it drives sales or whatnot, but Elon Musk tweeted about us and immediately a spike. So, no, I can make a theoretical correlation between him sending a tweet and 48 hours of sales because of
Yeah, 3 days. That's TV
uh,
radio too. You run your ad 3 days. It's kind of that curve. Email.
yeah.
Interesting.
Uh,
48 hours seems to be, yeah, or that's 2 days.
I mean, that's just giving it a window. We've had
Yeah.
viral videos that were out of our control. And again, it's very different to create that. How do you know that an influencer is working or not? And we try them, and then it's like, I don't know if I got sales, but I've got to move on to the next one, right? Because even
Yeah.
their work is okay. Jason's the hot guy today, but come
Maybe not tomorrow.
Sunday, Susie's the hot one. And after that, then it's someone else. And you're trying to up your, like, I'm the guy to give all this stuff to and be the influencer. Um, uh, and so I think some of that also is dictated on how much money you have and how much patience you have.
Yeah.
Because you could just optimize Amazon and have Amazon be your influencer and you'll get more sales out of that.
Well, I think it's a combination, right? Using omni-channel. And one of the things with influencers, I find the strongest space I find influencers is in the mommy space. It's like
Yeah.
they get a following in and they say, "Hey, I love this for my child." Next thing you know, you got sales. But I think a portion, if you look at your budget, you're dividing it up. Influencers is a part of that awareness portion of the budget. Maybe not direct revenue or, like a direct acquisition, but more of that type of campaign, like traditional advertising where, hey, let's keep hitting these influencers in this space. One, you're getting product awareness regardless across, different
Yeah.
demographics. Two, it's continuing. So now you're building up what you could have as far as video reviews that people are looking and they're searching for. And now instead of seeing like, some people do three influencers and that's it. And like, oh, I saw the, or one influencer, it didn't work out. They don't do it again. And they go, oh, there's that one video with that one influencer. But now you've got 3, 5, 10 influencers doing it. And if you keep the budget modest, unlike, what was it like 5 or 10 years ago, like people wanted $30,000 just to do a tweet because it had a,
Yeah.
600,000 followers. And you're like, well, how do we measure it? Ways that we found to measure it would be give them a UTM for a link so that way they can click on it if it's within
Yeah.
the post, right? The other is using a discount code, right? And
Yeah.
both of those have their flaws, but it's the closest thing that you could do to essentially get, what is the standard deviation off that, plus or minus maybe 10. And be like, okay, they did drive something. Because if they have that following and then someone's going to click that link, someone's going to use the code, you can see the traffic. Okay, so now that we're looking back into business, so you've done the trade show, right? You established getting into retail, using influencers. What are some of the other techniques that you use to generate revenue through selling these products or selling your product?
I mean, if it's getting the word out type stuff, it's the testing, like you just said. It's
Mm,
trying this, it's trying some other influencers, it's trying direct advertising. You're spot on. We used to have these mom groups in Texas
mm-hmm.
that we kind of sponsored them. And they were, they were pre-influencers, if you would, but they were like
Yeah.
in their community. They weren't digital influencers. We have had luck with some celebrities. who have kids, and we just, you be cheeky and you send them a product,
Hmm.
and then they end up using it, or somehow someone else finds it and promotes it. I think a key is, and one thing I would maybe call it a mistake on our end, but I think a key is like, what is your business and how big do you want it to be? In the early days, we were inventors. And so it's like we were focused on the invention and the coolness of inventing that then happened to turn into a business. But we didn't take that business and go from Piggyback Rider to a whole brand of stuff, meaning like look at Nike. Nike
Hmm.
started as shoes and now they make golf balls, right? So like they've
Yeah.
turned from one SKU, if you would, into probably millions of
Yeah.
SKUs across various business verticals. And we didn't do that. And I think when you don't have that, it just makes it more difficult to carry your customer, meaning, oh, you were this size, now you're another size. So I can sell you the next version of that product or the
Hmm.
newest version of that product. I think it also depends on the product. If you have a diminishing type product, so shoes that are going to wear out or lotion that will run out and the customer's got to buy it again,
Repeat purchase. Yeah.
that's a different type of marketing because now I'm driving brand loyalty
Hmm.
rather than, oh, just buy the thing and you buy like one battery. Like, how many more do I need?
Or your
Uh,
kid turns 5 and they no longer need it, and you're like, okay, what can
yeah,
I sell them now that they're
yes.
5?
So what is that trajectory? And I
Cradle to
think that's
grave, like Disney, cradle to grave.
exactly. And that's a decision you have to make in your business. Do you want that kind of complexity? We decided not to, so it kept us very streamlined and
Hmm.
in a very specific market and a very specific age group. Um, but you can see other companies that, oh, I got a Piggyback Rider branded water bottle. Like we didn't want to get into all of that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But in hindsight, I would say that's probably the smarter way to go because it gives a broader availability of SKUs to be able to sell to the customer, a reason to talk to your existing customers again,
Hmm.
as well as, at least back then, brick and mortar retail, they want more than one SKU. E-commerce retail, I don't think they care because I just search you. You're like an infinite shopping mall, essentially.
Hmm.
But when I go into an REI, they want to know that, oh, North Face. Okay, North Face sells tents and sleeping bags and shoes and jacket. They got a product
Yeah.
in every category across the store. We were in one category. Um, so I'd say that that's a critical business decision to scaling as well, is looking at um, how big, how broad is your offering? Because the broader your offering, the more ability you have to do that kind of remarketing and think about your marketing in different ways.
Yeah. On the e-commerce side, I like to tell brands to try and come up with more because if AOV, like I want to target AOV of a minimum of 150 to 200, because then if it's anything lower, I find that trying to leverage ads in general, it's very difficult to get a sale. You have like you see it, I've seen it in jewelry a lot. Like they had this $10 product, they can sell a lot of them, but the cost of acquisition is so high that
Yeah.
their margins are so low that they need to sell thousands of things. Other brands like I keep thinking of my brands in the space. Like I had one where it's like, okay, let's continue to build out and let's try and figure out a way to do a subscription model as well too, because I love when you just had that subscription model. It sends something out, you get paid, and people forget about it, and you have it at a good price point, maybe $25 a month to $50 a month. And now I know what my lifetime value is going to shoot up, my AOV is going to shoot up. You maintain that relationship with the client that much longer.
Hmm.
So there's a lot to consider. Or you have a single product, which I don't see many stores do anymore. I see one product take off sometimes and then
Hmm.
they add these additional ones. But they always have that one core leader in a sense. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. Now, when you're looking at your omni channel, you got your market going on. How are you structuring your outside of influencers? How are you structuring your digital ad spend for paid media?
So, us personally, it's mostly on Amazon. And
Hmm.
that's just because the majority of our sales come from Amazon and from our website. People find our website through general social media. We we were heavy in the early days of Google and SEO optimization and really
Hmm.
changing things around as quickly and as often as Google did. Um, But when Amazon kind of took over as the platform and even the search platform, so,
Mhm.
people will search in Amazon for products like they would have on Google. So I would say like 85% of our spend is straight up Amazon.
Mhm.
And we've dialed it in so we know more spend doesn't actually generate more revenue.
Yeah, there's
We've figured
diminishing
out
return.
that sweet
Yeah.
spot just based on Amazon's fees and return policies and warehouse, all that kind of stuff. We know where the sweet spot is, as well as, our product has a couple of bigger seasons than other seasons, so we'll dial it up
Mhm.
uh, at that time, and then dial it down during a season when we know it's just okay. This just is not the big season. There's no need to spend. I think
Yeah.
we've also learned how to do that. So a funny story that I tell is in the early days, we were trying to be smart and we thought, oh, our product would be great to go to Disneyland. Piggyback Rider is like a toddler child carrier. So who wouldn't want to use that at Disneyland? And so we did a bunch of marketing with the words Disney in it and found that nobody was actually clicking on those ads. Like if you look in the Google ad analytics, because the people who were searching Disney were searching for actual Disney vacations. They weren't searching for how do I carry my kid when they get tired at Disneyland. And
Yeah.
so, it taught us how to really dial in what are the things that people are going to be looking for
Search
and when they
intent.
look
Yeah.
for them. And with the data, like I was saying in my earlier example, we knew a lot of our purchases happened on a Tuesday and a Wednesday because somebody's like, oh, we're going to go hiking this weekend, or we're going somewhere this weekend. We need that. Very few were like on a Friday. And so, we kind of knew how to dial in our marketing to attract the people sitting at their desk shopping on Amazon on a Tuesday or
Mhm.
Wednesday in the middle of the day at work. Because we know, I mean, I don't know who you are personally because of the way Amazon hides the information, but I know what time you put the order in.
Yeah.
And so we can dial it in that way. But every business is different. And I think you need to look at it like if you're on a subscription model, what's the new offering to keep you subscribed?
Mhm.
Um, I don't want to be sleazy and just have like a secret subscription that's just ongoing with you. I'd want to provide some value.
Yeah.
Uh, Plus, if you're then moving across markets or regions, your outreach and your frequency will change. So I don't think there's a one size fits all or my way is better than your way or vice versa. I think it's more knowing your product and then knowing probably someone like you or me, who, if you brought us in as an advisor, we can look at this and say, yeah, yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
That'll work, that won't work. Because I would think, not would think, I will argue that that is the biggest founder's Achilles, is they can't see past the product. I've advised so many founders, and they're like, no, my product is fantastic. I'm like, yeah, but look at all the things around it. You're
Mhm.
missing some of the picture here, or you're not presenting yourself, like you said, in the right way, or you think this is a cool science thing, but I look at this and I'm like, yeah, that nobody's going to buy that.
Or the engineer who only speaks engineer.
Yes,
Messaging is for engineers, and then people who can actually benefit from the product have no idea what it's about or even
yeah,
understand. Come
yes,
across that
and
a
that's
lot.
that's a fascinating observation because we saw that too. So our product, we learned, dad or dad will be the one who will use it. Dad wants it. Dad will buy it, but dad won't buy it without mom's concurrence. Therefore, mom will be the purchaser.
Yeah.
Dad will be the teller of mom, buy this product, check it out. Because we can see, again, like
Mhm.
when orders ship, is it a male name or a female name? Wow, this is like all women buying the product. What's happening here? And then you align that with what you see, at the time on Facebook or on our Instagram or anywhere else on who's making comments. It's all the men. This is so cool. I want this to take so and so to a Nationals game,
Share it
but I
with my
won't buy it.
wife. Share it with my
Yeah,
wife. Yeah.
exactly.
And then after the weekend, because it's funny that you're on Tuesday. I've seen other mommy brands hit on Monday. Monday to Wednesday is where I see the average because the week I feel from what I understood is the weekend happens, they realize they have a need for something. Then the weekday comes and they have some downtime because maybe someone else take care of the kid or at school or daycare or something. Then
Yeah.
they go, okay, I can make a purchase. But yeah, it's interesting in how that dynamic works. So no, that's cool. So essentially, what your piece of advice for someone as a business owner would be like, make sure to listen and hire the right people, or if you can, time it at the right time, so that way you can really make an impact with your product. So you don't make a lot of these mistakes, lose 3 to 6 months
Yeah.
of investor funding or personal funding or potential revenue. Cool.
But the world is very different, right?
Hmm.
So I mean, if I'm telling like historical stories, this didn't exist 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like being able to go on Google and do all kinds of research didn't exist. You had to like actually know real people. And
Hmm.
so I hope founders, and people scaling businesses these days are really taking advantage of the technology and the services and like the people like us. Like I've been down that road,
Hmm.
and I'm happy to help other people down that road. People helped us along the way, so pay it forward, rather than thinking like, oh, like this is the greatest product ever and I'm the smartest person ever. Uh, I don't need any
Nope.
help. I can do this all myself. Be that founder or that business leader that says, put some money aside, just get someone to give me a gut check. Am
Yeah.
I on the right track? I don't know. I mean, you don't need McKinsey Consulting to come in and do that. You can have someone come in and in like 2 hours, probably you or I could look at someone's business and be like, okay, here's
Yeah.
my ideas for you
Yeah.
right off the bat. Like I've seen enough businesses to do it, quickly.
This is, yeah. And that's one of the reasons I started the fractional CMO services at Fry is like, okay, I don't want to go into a business work full time. I got my own business going on. So let's just get in. I love going in, looking at the strategy. So it's just easy to work with a founder or
Mhm.
whoever and be like, hey, let us take a look. Let's take a quick look. This little bit that you're going to pay us is going to save you a lot and help get you in
Yeah.
the right direction. Well, great. So where can people connect with you or learn more about what you're doing?
I guess you can find me on LinkedIn, Wayne
Mhm.
Lifshitz. You can find the product I was referencing was Piggyback Rider, but we could have multiple talks like this about tech companies and other ones that,
Yeah.
we thought we had built the Amazon killer. But it was, again, learning an idea that was so huge that people had a hard time getting their head around it. Made sense to us, to your
Hmm.
point about the engineer speak. It
Yeah.
made total sense to us. But in telling other people, they're like, whoa, this is a huge idea. How do I get my head around it? So, yeah, to find me, I'd say LinkedIn is the easiest. And then if you have a kid and you want a piggyback rider, check it out. And I
What's the
mean, like
website?
you, I
Yeah.
do,
What's the website?
piggybackrider.com.
Okay.
And like you, I do more fractional on the strategy side and kind of advisory for executives,
Hmm.
kind of helping them at least help themselves and be
Yeah. Yeah.
an outside lens and kind of consigliere. Um, that's how I like to look at it. You don't have to listen, but I'll tell you what I think.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Jason.